We're gonna be doing something a little bit different from the normal content today. I have been feeling a little bit burnt out from doing the same type of content, and I think it's time for a little challenge. So hello and welcome. My name is Bianca, and this is a place to inspire and to be inspired. I love all things crafting and creating on a budget. And we're currently sitting in the thrift store parking lot. We're gonna go into Goodwill and try to find the ugliest piece we can today and see if we can flip it into something cute. Now, I feel like I could go a couple different directions with this. I could look for the ugliest pattern possible and see if I can make that into something cute. The only problem with that is I'm convinced that if the pattern is ugly, there's nothing you can turn it into that will make it cute. So maybe if you guys like the format of this video, I will try that for my next challenge. But I think for today, I'm gonna just try to find an ugly shape and from there try to make it into something cute. And I don't know if I wanna find some ugly bottoms and then an ugly top and then try to make it a cohesive outfit, or if I just want to find a really ugly dress and then turn that into something. And I just don't know what I'm gonna find until I go in there and start looking. So let's go find something ugly. So upon walking into the thrift store, I decided to start in the pants, and I definitely found a lot of very ugly patterns, but nothing that I saw enough potential in that I thought could be made into something cute. So I ended up making my way to the dresses, and I did find a lot of very ugly patterns like this one. Okay, so I got two different dresses. I realized finding something ugly was really difficult because I think it's pretty subjective. What I think is ugly, you might not think is ugly, and then what you think is ugly, I might think is cute. And a big part of what I do on YouTube is seeing the potential in thrifted items. So it's hard to call something ugly when you can see the potential of what it could be. But let me show you my two options. And I also grabbed some candy because every time I go through the Goodwill checkout, I always pass these. I've also been waiting the whole car ride to open them. They're just so good. I still need to decide which one I want to work on today. First, we have this purple dress. It has shoulder pads. I think in 2025, we can call shoulder pads ugly. And then the next one is this one. The pattern of this is actually really cute, I think. And this one also has shoulder pads. So I think that alone can qualify this as some form of ugly. I don't know. I think this one has the most potential to be something really cute because it's not too ugly to start with. I think this one would be more of a challenge today because the shape is pretty boring and the pattern of this is not terrible, but in my opinion, it's ugly enough to require a good amount of work styling to make it look decent. Do you know what I mean? So I'm gonna try this one on and show you how it looks on, and then we can go from there. This is definitely ugly. But I think for this project, I need to bring out my dress form. That way I can get a better visual of this and come up with some ideas on how we can make this cute because I don't know. Once I got the dress on, I tried to brainstorm all of the possibilities of what I could turn this into. It took a minute, but I think I got some good ideas. Okay, so I did a little bit of brainstorming, and I think that I can turn this into a two-piece skirt set. Maybe something like one of these. The only part that won't really match the aesthetic is the pattern, in my opinion. I think if we can get a cute shape out of it, the pattern won't be as important, maybe. And this dress has multiple tiers to it. So I'm thinking I can cut it to where this top portion here will be our top, and then I can cut this and then turn it into a mini skirt, and then I can do something with this portion to make a cute top out of it. I think first I'm gonna go ahead and just cut it to here, and then we'll work with the skirt portion later. And I'm also gonna cut out these shoulder pads because we will definitely not be needing them. And I'm thinking I want to utilize the sleeves and keep them, but to make it match my personal style, I think I'm going to widen the neckline here, and I think I'll bring the V-neck down a smidge. And I think if I make this a little bit more snug and then crop it a little bit, I think this has potential. And I think since this is really stretchy and it already has this lettuce trim at the bottom, I'll probably do a lettuce trim again once I cut this to the length that I want. I think I want the skirt portion to be like mid-rise, just below the belly button. So then I want the top to kind of sit just above that. That way you can see the separation between the skirt and the top. So I'm thinking I'll cut this to about here, take in the sides, and then cut our neckline. And I think whatever I cut off from here down, I can use to make a little skinny neck scarf, kind of like this. And I don't know if it's gonna look as cute with a short sleeve top versus a tank top like the photo, but we'll see. I might end up cutting the sleeves off. As of right now, I think I wanna keep them, and we'll just see what this turns into. I think I want to cut out this liner because it's kind of bothering me. And this material is a little bit see-through, but not see-through enough to need a liner. So far, it's really not looking any better, but we have to trust the process. If this video got posted, then it must have turned out somewhat decent, or it was just so embarrassingly bad that I wanted you guys to laugh along with me. At this point, we will both find out. My next plan of action is to take in the waist a couple inches on each side, and then I'm also gonna do a rolled hem with my serger along the neckline here. I know this neckline is gonna need more structure because it's pretty floppy, but I think I want to attempt to do a rolled hem with my serger using minimal tension, and hopefully it won't stretch the neckline out too much and make it saggy. I guess we're just gonna cross our fingers and hope that it turns out okay. So it also has this seam that runs down the center of the back, and I think I'm gonna take it in at the center back, maybe about 2 inches, and I think that will help to make it a little bit more snug. So I'm gonna do some tailoring first with my standard sewing machine. I'm gonna use minimal tension. So I'm gonna put my tension at a 1, and then my stitch length is between a 3 and a 2, and I'm gonna do a straight stitch, and this is just all-purpose polyester thread. And then I think I'm gonna take 2 inches off the sides as well. And now for the sides. Okay, and this material is very difficult to sew. I don't know if it's the texture of this fabric or what, but the fabric keeps getting jammed and stuck inside the bobbin. And that's happened to me before, but it's not a normal occurrence. And it happened like 5 times while trying to sew this. So, not an easy fabric to work with. Okay, so far still ugly, but we're making progress. I tailored the sides and took it in a little bit, so it's looking a little bit better now. And the original sleeves do have a lettuce trim, but I feel like the sleeves are a little too long, so I want to shorten them to like maybe to here, then add a lettuce trim again to the sleeves. And then I'm also going to do a lettuce trim to the bottom here, and then we can come back and see where the progress update is. And luckily my serger is already threaded with black thread, so that's one less thing to have to do. And for the lettuce trim, I want to use maximum tension, and we're going to pull the fabric while we sew. And now for the neckline, I'm going to keep all of my settings the same except for the tension. I'm going to lower my tension now to go around the neckline. I'm actually pleasantly surprised at how this is turning out so far. I actually feel like this is kind of cute. Now the neckline is a little bit saggy, which I did expect. So I think what I'm going to do is add a dart on each side here and here. And that will pretty much get rid of that extra fabric we have at the neckline. And this is what the back looks like. Pretty standard. So I'm going to add those 2 darts, and then we can start working on the skirt portion. And this was the bottom part that we had left over from the dress. And I'm thinking I could cut it and make this the waist and then have it asymmetrical. Or I can just cut it straight across where it would be even like this, and then make this portion the skirt portion. So it would look something kind of like this. And this fabric is pretty stretchy, so I'm hoping maybe I can get away with not adding elastic. And then since it's stretchy, I'll just be able to pull it up over my hips and then it will stay. That's what I would like to happen. If I need to add some elastic, I can do that. But I think I'm just gonna cut this straight across and leave maybe 1 inch for seam allowance in case I need to add an elastic band to the top. And then I think I'll cut open one side, and then that way I can make it fit and then just do one side stitch down one side. That's the plan. Okay, I just got an idea. Since this is tiered, what if I made this portion tie? I can detach these 2 like this, and I can take in the side of this one, and then for this one, I can do a serged edge along the top here. Then I can wear this over that, and then tie it here. I think we're gonna do that. So the first thing I want to do is just measure how much to take off here to make it fit around my waist. Okay, so this piece here was going to be the bottom tier, and I want this side seam to match up on this side like this. So this is how much I want to take it in, and I'm just going to use a couple clips. I'm going to add a clip to each side. And now I can put the good sides together. And instead of sewing straight down, I'm going to sew at a little bit of an angle. That way we keep some of the fabric here at the bottom. Okay, so now I'll show you how this portion is fitting. And then for this part, it's going to wrap around like this. And then it will tie here. So something kind of like this. And if I make the tie on the side here, I think I'll skip the neck scarf because it might be a little too much. And then to hem this waistband, I'm just gonna roll it under once and then do a zigzag stitch across. I'm not too worried about how it looks because this will be covering the waistband. And then I'll just go over this raw hem here with my serger the same way I went around the neckline. And then that will be the finished edge that you see along the top waistband. And I think that would really make the whole thing more cohesive. And this is the scrap fabric that I was gonna make a little neck scarf with. I'll probably just make one anyway, just in case. And then you guys can let me know if it looks good together or if it's too much. So this black fabric here at the top of the waistband, it doesn't really fray, which is why I'm only gonna roll it under once and then do a zigzag stitch. If the fabric frays really easily, you'll probably want to serge the raw edge and then roll it under and do a zigzag stitch, or roll it under twice and then do a zigzag stitch. And here's what that looks like when we're finished. And now for the finishing touch, I'm going to go over those raw edges with my serger for the portion of the skirt that's going to tie around the waist. And this is the finished result on how our transformation went. I honestly wasn't sure I could turn it into something wearable, but I think the pattern actually grew on me a little bit. I was convinced that no matter what, an ugly pattern can't be made cute, but I think I was proved wrong. And I paired it with my burgundy boots. I thought about maybe pairing it with brown or tan boots, which I do think would have given it a more casual look. Even though I do think this is more of a going out outfit, I can't see myself wearing this to a brunch or lunch. But this top portion does have potential. I think that this top could be paired with a maxi skirt or even jeans, and it would be really cute. I was not fully convinced that this would be a success. Let me know what your thoughts are. And I think for this upcycle, we got close to our inspo photo. It's kind of a mix of all of these together. And I did try to make some kind of little scarf piece, but I think with this material, it just didn't really work out the way that I was expecting it to. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna use this for something else, maybe a headband. Or maybe I could just use it to tie around a handbag if I want a little pop of color or some texture. And also let me know if you want to see me do a transformation on the other piece that I thrifted today. I definitely feel like this pattern has a lot more potential. I could probably turn this portion into a maxi skirt, and then I could keep this little blouse portion at the top. That would be a fun future project. And until next week, bye!